I have the formula. 5 YouTube videos, it must equal at least $10,000 generated in ad revenue. For some extra context, my average revenue per video is $3,000, meaning in the last 30-day period from 20th of January to 19th of February, one video, two videos, three videos, four videos, and five videos were posted. And four of the five individual videos had a spike period every single day that it was posted. Meaning 80% of my content has a virality rate within a 30-day period. A $900 day, February 7th. This was the only video that we posted which did not end up having a viral spike day. So, what is the actual simple formula behind the strategy, which I have now labeled it as the authoritative content strategy? Let me explain it very, very simply into three digestible steps for you. Number one, introducing two parties with different authority levels. And when I say parties, you can think of it as individuals. You can think of parties as specific classes. You can think of it as even groups of selected people who work for a specific force or field, like cops, like lawyers. And so a very prime example of authority conflict is like lawyer versus victim, cops versus criminals, etc., etc. Step number two, once you have two parties introduced in your content, a disagreement or challenge naturally occurs. Some sort of conflict, and that results in what I like to call very unfiltered and genuine suspension mixed with tension. When you have genuine tension, you can't fake that. That is when you get hooked. Step number three then is the audience watches to see how the authority dynamic actually resolves. And usually for the disagreement or challenge to resolve, there has to be some sort of consequence by one party. Some sort of fighting happens, if that makes any sense. And so this is the simple formula behind my authoritative content strategy. And like how I explained earlier, the zero BS authenticity. This is the best thing ever because the best authoritative content will feel completely real and unscripted. If you've ever watched or had the experience where a teacher was arguing with a student, as an example, that isn't fakeable. That isn't really something that you can watch and not feel any sort of adrenaline for. You want to see the end outcome for it, which gives the retention a naturally very, very high response rate. The stakes are real. The tension cannot be manufactured or faked. This is the secret to having such a high engagement rate. One of my videos literally has a 55% engagement rate. More than half of the viewers that watched this video, which has almost 800,000 views, watched the entire 14 minutes. Think about that. This is the power of authoritative videos. And so when you really understand this, real stakes can create real attention. You want to build your videos so someone is always risking something. Whether that be they're risking their reputation, whether they're risking their money, legal consequences, or physical trouble. Because if I took the student versus teacher example, the teacher could risk their reputation for being the smart person, or there could be some sort of money trouble because the teacher did something inappropriate, ending up in not only money consequences, but legal consequences as well. You cannot, again, fake this, which is why people want to see the end outcome. When real stakes exist, viewers naturally stay longer because something meaningful could actually happen. Not only that, now that you understand that retention is naturally going to be through the roof within this given content strategy, the other caveat is getting clicks and getting attention to begin with, which I'm going to go over in a second for you. But this type of dynamic, having one party against a party with lesser authority or power, is universal. It is understood by basically anyone on this God-given earth, which is actually why it's so easy to garner millions and millions of eyeballs. This is a great example. Lawyer versus a self-represented defendant, right? The authority gap is knowledge and experience, where the defendant, whoever got into trouble, likely doesn't have anywhere close to the amount of knowledge and experience when it comes to laws, when it comes to defending himself, and when it depends on him getting himself out of trouble in his legal court case. So the viewer will stay watching this entire video because they want to see how the inexperienced defendant ends up fucking up his situation even worse. And so because this channel Audit the Court has posted this video 4 months ago. It got 467 views off of a 26-minute long video. Now, I'm not going to play it, but if you click on this video onto YouTube, you'll notice that the majority of the 20 minutes is super raw, boring footage that just gets played throughout. The recording itself has no fancy editing. There's no cuts. It's very easy to create as well, meaning that the authoritative content strategy has a very low effort but high barrier to entry, along with a very high virality rate. When you understand those three components, you're gonna get absolutely ridiculously rich. And so the retention comes from the constant escalation of the end consequence getting played out. I wrote over here, number one, key to retention is gradual escalation of the conflict. Each moment should raise the tension slightly, so viewers feel compelled to keep on watching. And as a byproduct, like I showed you earlier, 55% of individuals watched this entire fucking video. If I bet you that you clicked on this video, and you're more likely than not, over 50% chance likely to watch 14 minutes and 49 seconds of this, that's a crazy bet. But that, again, is the power of having genuine conflict and genuine authenticity of escalation that you cannot fake. And so when you're building the retention in the video, you want to start off the intro. This is the most important part. Right over here, the first 30 seconds, by initial confrontation that curates a curiosity. Confrontation, again, cannot be faked, especially when it's a smaller party confronting a bigger party. And another example, a criminal is trying to get away from the cops, and as a byproduct, the criminal is disagreeing and confronting the cop, etc., etc. You cannot fake that. And so slowly, as the video continues to start playing, you want to reveal the next developments and next storylines of what's going to happen next, so the audience just keeps on happening to watch. And they're always having this mind thought in the back of their brain, thinking what's going to happen next. That is the key. Titles. This is the next most important thing, because now that you have the basic foundation to get insanely high retention, we have to get the clicks to begin with. Without the clicks, you're not going to even have any views, even if your retention is high. So your titles and the way you word it, it should curate curiosity, not spoil the outcome. And so the best titles, they hint at the conflict and what's about to go down without explaining everything. This example that I found, which got 17 million fucking views using the authoritative content strategy, 128 mile per hour police chase ends in total destruction. Am I confused? No. Did I spoil the outcome? No. But does it curate curiosity? Hell yes. And so this title itself creates foreshadowing that makes viewers want to click. And obviously, you want to avoid the obvious titles and very generic, tangible sentences that doesn't intrigue enough curiosity. Curiosity is what sells a click. If you cannot spike that, you're not going to get any views. So if your title explained the entire outcome, that's how you kill it, because then the curiosity disappeared. If I titled this video as 128-mile police chase ends in a car crash that killed 4 family members and the mother started crying, no views. I explained too much. And so a strong title suggests something that's very fucking unusual that rarely ever happens on the average day scenario. Or unexpected. Something unexpected is about to happen. Next, foreshadowing is what actually drives the click within your titles. The title should make the viewer think, I need to see how this plays out. If your title makes the viewer feel any other way, they're not going to click. This is the number one emotion that if you can trigger, 1 million views, 500,000 views, again, I need to see how this plays out. Curiosity is the strongest when the situation feels unpredictable. Now, there's a fine line, however, between feeling unpredictable with what's about to happen versus feeling confused with what's about to happen. And so it's very, very important that you word it in a specific way so your titles doesn't leave any sort of confusion out the door. The thumbnail, right? If it was a police car and then you see a Honda beside it, That doesn't make any sense then, because it's not congruent with the title. Your thumbnail should be made in a certain way so it either complements or is congruent with the words that you have titled the video as. And so when it says ends in total destruction and I actually see flares, now I'm not confused anymore. I am now intrigued based off of this dynamic duo kind of complementing each other, if that makes sense. Broad appeal titles reach a larger audience. The title that you have made your authoritative video, it should be focused on the conflict and the moment, not... My notes are so stupid. What is jargon? Anyways, when the scenario, it's easy to understand, and like a fucking third grader can actually understand what your video is about, the video itself is going to naturally just reach a much wider audience. If I went back to this one, and it started using fancy words or niched words that only people who like to watch police chases would understand, maybe if I included the title, tapping on the head, only bike riders know that that means a police is nearby. But that's not universal. So you have to make sure that every single component of your packaging, whether that be the thumbnail or the title, is universally understood, which gives you the ability to garner mass attention in the first place. If your channel hits these 3 pillars, you've got the solution to a $3,000 average revenue per video. Again, different authoritative power between 2 different parties. Then they start to conflict between each other based off of a specific challenge or consequence. And as a byproduct, one of these parties has to fall down and face a consequence, whether it be legal consequence, money consequence, or some sort of physical consequence in order for the case to be resolved. This is the dynamic duo that is, number one, universally understood by the entire world. Everyone knows how parties and different levels of authority and power works. Every single individual experienced conflict in their life and understand that it's actually real. There's genuine tension that you can feel, resulting in a mesmerized and unmatched ability to want to watch the entire thing and having the retention super, super high. This is a formula. I hope you guys actually understood something. I could have explained it within just this one slideshow, but if I did, then you wouldn't understand the whole entire process. And so, coffee break.
All right, so I'm currently at my dashboard on smmshiba.com, and do not get confused by the website names. SMM and SMM Dodge are actually the same website. So all you have to do once you've created yourself an account here is to go on list, click on this category icon, select, and here you want to select something, basically any option that says from with video. So I'm going to choose this one right here, and this should be already fine. 2014, 2017, yeah. Now I'm going to click on buy, confirm, and now you can go onto your product orders and you will see this is pending. All right, the order is now completed. This didn't even take 2 minutes. What you want to do now is you want to copy that ID, and we want to be organized, right? Especially if we have multiple channels, you will not find them again. So make sure to save it somewhere.